Good morning, everyone. Britt Simon here. It's pretty early. It's 7:05 in the morning in California, and you'll have to excuse. I haven't shaved. I've got my cycling jersey on, so I'm sorry. You have to excuse my appearance. But I wanted to come up with some big news on the UK lawsuit. We've won. We've won the result that I wanted to achieve. Let me show you. Let me show you what's happened. The government have posted this update on the diversity visa program. It says, in reviewing the entry selection system for the DV25 program, the US Department of State determined that for a small number of entries from Great Britain, United Kingdom, and its dependent areas, the selection status may have been previously incorrectly reported. Yeah, no shit. The Department of State asked that DV25 entrants from Great Britain, United Kingdom, and its dependent areas go to the entrance status check, right, the ESC page, and use the unique confirmation number saved from their DV25 online entry registration to confirm whether their entry has been selected in the DV program. This is actually, this was kind of my dream scenario in a sense. Basically, they're admitting that the lawsuit is correct, and our suspicions and assumptions were correct. Right, that's the first thing. They're admitting that, and that actually was at least part of what I wanted to achieve with the lawsuit. I'm kind of frustrated we had to spend thousands of dollars to do this, but never mind. They've gone back and they've looked and they said, "Yeah, we fucked up." That's basically what they're saying. But more importantly, they're saying, go check your ESC page, and if you find yourself you're a winner, then there is still time for DV25 entries to go back and try and apply for the green card. There's time before September 30th. Now, in the lawsuit, we're probably going to have to agree with the government that they're going to have to do some special things for those people, because they need to have people that are found to be winners need to have their DS-260 processed quickly and need to be scheduled for an interview quickly. And that has to happen by September 30th. That can't be extended. That deadline can't be extended. This is certainly very possible. And the government's deadline to respond to our lawsuit is actually the 15th of August. And in that response, I hope that we would get them to admit what they've just admitted, and I hope that they would do what they've just done, which is, allow people to go check their status check, and they fix the problem, obviously, and and find out that you're a winner. I hope that that would happen, and that meant that the case numbers that those cases, that those winners will be assigned will be in the typical range, right? So some people will be below the cutoff number for the end of September, and some people will be above it, right? Some winners will, this doesn't guarantee you that as a UK winner, if you're now selected in DV25, it doesn't mean that even if your case number is higher than the final cutoff, which is 23,000 for EU, you won't be allowed to continue if that's the case, right? There are people with high case numbers that don't go forward, right? So I was looking to achieve the admitting of the problem, the allowing people to check their status check and see if they're winners, and then I wanted to manage the process by which people process their cases, right? There were two things I wanted to manage. One was the case number that those cases would be assigned, and I was hoping that the case number would be assigned within the normal ranges, which meant that there was no need to do a redraw for any part of any of this problem, which was my assumption, but I wasn't 100% sure that would be the case. But this is confirmation of that. So the only piece that I'm missing from a DV25 point of view is being able to manage the winners through, right? And that was a pretty big stretch in a sense, but so basically this is giving us everything we wanted from the lawsuit, pretty much everything. Obviously, they'll have to show us that they're working fair. They'll have to fix the problems in a way that's showing us that they're working fair. But this is the sort of transparency I wanted. This is a public announcement. This is a publicly presented solution. So this is great news. So Curtis, I don't know if Curtis is even awake yet, but Curtis, you may have won your lawsuit, mate. Now, the other thing is DV26, and they haven't mentioned anything about DV26 in here, but obviously the same solution will apply to DV26. They're just being a bit more quiet about it, and we'll find out more about that in the lawsuit itself. We'll have discussions and negotiations with the government as part of the lawsuit. They won't just shut down the lawsuit. They'll have to go before the judge, admit that they fucked up, basically, and tell us what they're doing in order to fix the problem, right? And so, you know, and then the judge will ask us, okay, are you happy now? And we'll say, yeah, we're happy with that. You know, that's how the lawsuit will conclude, roughly, in you know, in some way. There will be, you know, there'll be, it'll be a little bit easier to have that whole conversation. That's a good thing. So it might sort of it might reduce some of the costs that we were anticipating having to spend with travel and so on. But most of the cost is already spent. I've already paid the fee. So you know, but I don't begrudge paying the fee at all. I'm thrilled with this result, and it'll be impactful for some of you. Now, it's not going to be impactful for many of you. I totally get that, and everybody that supported the lawsuit, and several you know, several $1,000s has been raised to try and offset the costs of the lawsuit for me, and so I greatly appreciate that. I greatly appreciate your support in that. That really helped. I didn't want to have to take on the whole $6,000 fee, you know, by myself, and many of you have helped with that, and so you know, I appreciate that very much. And now I'm hoping to hear from some DV25 UK winners. So please go and you know, check. So let me just check if I'll check if there's some UK entry specific questions. This does only apply for 25 applicants. Yes, Ryan. Yes and no. The thing is that the part of the process that they are talking about when they say the entry selection system for DV25, they must know now, because of the lawsuit, that they screwed up in 25 and therefore made the same mistake in 26. They may already have fixed the system for 26. Okay. They may not just want to, they may not be talking about it, but it doesn't mean that 26 isn't going to get the same solution. 26 will get the same solution as 25, right? You know, that's going to be fine. It'll be interesting to hear about the other evidence we presented that Cuba was incorrectly added or allowed to apply in DV26. So I'm interested to hear how that finishes up. But anyway, we're going to find more out, you know, more about that. We're going to find out more about that in the coming days. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, the response from the government wasn't due until a week's time. So they've just jumped the gun a little bit, and you know, and that's great because they've given people an extra week, rather than coming into court in a week's time and saying, yes, we screwed up, what do you want to do about it? They've thought the process through and said, what can we do about it? And we'll pull the trigger on that immediately. And so they've given us an extra week. So that's good. But for 26, there'll be plenty of time. So I'm not worried about 26, Ryan. Mine's still showing not selected for DV25. Maybe they're going through the process. Appreciate you, Simon. Look, 1 in 100 entries get selected, right? So out of every 100 entries, 99 people will see the not selected process, the not selected message. You have not been selected. Okay, so LG crash. It may be that I believe they've fixed the system already. I think they have fixed the system. I'm just waiting for one person to respond and say, yeah, we weren't selected before, and now we're selected. You may not be selected. That might be the simple answer. You know, and that's going to be more likely the case than you are selected. the whole point about the lawsuit was not to make everybody who helped me with the lawsuit suddenly become a winner. That I couldn't ever promise that. What I could try and achieve was that people had their rights restored, and that some of the entries became winners. That's all we're trying to get, right? I can't guarantee you, even if you've paid a little bit of money towards the GoFundMe or something, that doesn't mean that you're going to be guaranteed to be a winner. I hope you've understood that. I'm sure you have. I think I've made it very, very clear. Okay. 25 not selected. Keep checking just in case. Yeah, I guess we're going to have to check, Mr. Ratchet. We're going to have to check until we hear that at least one case has been selected, right? Ryan, it would be interesting to find out how many have actually applied from the last 2 years from the UK. Yes. I still want to get that information in the lawsuit. I want to try and enforce transparency, right? And there's a certain part of the selection system that they've revealed to me in this announcement, in that I wasn't sure which sort of remedy I was going to need to ask for. I knew I was going to win the lawsuit. I wasn't worried about that. I was worried about how do we get the remedy, right? So I put some thought into it. And there were two possible scenarios. One was that the cases were naturally in the case number range, and that all had happened was they hadn't revealed the case number for those people. So there's a randomization process that happens with all of the entries in the beginning of the system, right? Let's say there are 1 million entries from Europe. Those 1 million entries would have been jumbled up randomly and given a number from between 1 and 1 million, right? And then the first 44,000 numbers, I think it was in DV25, the first 44,000 numbers were selectees, right? But they went through those 44,000 numbers and they knocked out a bunch of cases for all sorts of reasons, mainly bad photos. Some people would have been knocked out for fraudulent duplicate entries. And I was hoping that they also knocked out people that were from the UK because of this glitch, because of this error that they make, right? And if they did that, then those case numbers were still there and they're still in order. They're just holes, right? So somebody could have case number 7 in EU because, but that number had looked to us like a hole, let's say, right? That was my biggest hope, and that's actually what they've confirmed. The other way of doing this is that I could have forced them to do a draw, right? And said, okay, you've got 10,000 winners. I want to see that you do a draw. And out of those 10,000 entries, I would be expecting to see 1 in 100 cases being selected. Show me that you're doing that process. And how do I know that 1 in 100? Well, I need to know all of the entries for Europe from every country, and I need to know all of the number of selectees from every country. In other words, they would have to sort of pull their pants down and reveal the whole thing to me, right? They would have to open the kimono, as we say in America, open the kimono and reveal what's underneath. They would have to show me all of that data so that I could say, yeah, I've sued you and I can see that you're doing the right thing. And so therefore I'm satisfied. And that's basically what would have happened. And then once we had that draw could have been for a case number like 50,000 and above, and we would have operated a different visa bulletin numbering system, basically to reveal the same percentage of cases in that number range that had been revealed in the existing number range for the normal draw. So I had a plan on how to address that, and none of that required any sort of redraw for Europe or anything else. None of that would have affected everyone else, but people were worried about me screwing up the lottery process in DV25 and 26, but I kept telling people that wasn't a concern. There were remedies that didn't require that, and lo and behold, here we go. We're getting a remedy that didn't require that. So hopefully the people that were worried about that can calm the heck down now. Anyway, so that's That's good. Right. Selected case mentioned on Reddit. Fucking fantastic. States they received an email to check. This was another thing. So in a previous year where there was a second draw announced one time, they sent out emails. And this was something else that I'd asked Curtis, well, I'd made clear to Curtis that I wanted to happen. They should be sending out emails. And those emails, if you get those emails are like gold dust. Because the emails will be sent out to people that are selectees. They're not going to send emails out to everyone. They're going to send out people to selectees, and they'll say, "Hey, you may want to go and check your entrance status check." And so, if you get those emails, then that's a very good thing. Congratulations, Brit Simon. Shows the rule of law still exists in these dark times. Yeah, yeah. I was very pessimistic about this case. Really? Oh, you shouldn't have been. Considering how the government deals with law, but you won against the odds. Yeah. Yeah. No, most of America is still running correctly. Okay. There are many things that worry me and concern me in today's environment. You're right in that respect. And yes, the government are ignoring the rule of law in some things, but this was a relatively a small thing that they could just fix. There was no need to argue this. This was a mistake. This wasn't anything other than a mistake. In my opinion, I don't believe this was done with any malintent. This is just a mistake, and they're correcting it now. So, okay. So Ryan, just seen the selected. I hope that person comes by and says thank you, or goes to the GoFundMe and says thank you. So there's someone on Reddit. That's awesome. Yeah, send a link to the Reddit post. That would be awesome. Will there be any chance of 2NL for the for 25? Yeah, there is chance, Tony. I think you're probably talking about other 2NLs for other countries, but if you're talking about the UK, there is time to get these UK cases through. So we're fine. We're fine. Okay. 26 will be covered, will be corrected as well. We know that 26 is in the same situation exactly, right? So this fix will also apply to DV26, okay? Whether that's already been done or not, I don't know. We'll have to check some of the case numbers and see. Right. Nick says, excellent news. Thanks for everything. You're very welcome. Will there be any change after final visa bulletin? No, the final visa bulletin is the final visa bulletin. There's going to be no change on that, right? Right, let's see. Yeah. So, all right. So I think, I guess in a couple of days, we will know the number of selectees from the UK and the rest of the countries, because I guess they will quickly apply the same remedy in DV26. That's a really good point. There might be enough time for them to modify on the next visa bulletin, to insert those selectee numbers there. And maybe that's what they'll do. That's a really good point, Marcus. But I can tell you this: if we see UK selectees in the visa bulletin, it's only because of this lawsuit. I mean, clearly, this announcement doesn't mention anything about in the case of Paul v. Trump or whatever. But this is clearly because of the Paul v. Trump lawsuit, which is the lawsuit that was filed. Is it possible they will recognize the error of Cuba? 100% possible. 100% certain they will recognize the error. They have to correct that. There will be another announcement here. And Cuba selectees were selected in DV26 because they didn't switch off the eligibility, as they should have switched on the eligibility for UK in 25. And then in 26, UK should have remained eligible, right? In DV26, they didn't switch off the eligibility of Cuba. And so some people, even though the instructions said don't apply, some people from Cuba applied, and some people from Cuba have been selected. I don't know how many, but that will be another interesting point, Marcus, that you raised a moment ago about the visa bulletin. it'll be interesting to see whether they adjust the visa bulletin. If it says there are no winners from Cuba, then that would be also more evidence that they've fixed, that announcement in the next visa bulletin with the entry numbers. Because I've got at least one, absolutely certain, I've got a 2NL letter for, sorry, not a 2NL, a 1NL letter, a you have been selected letter for a Cuban entrant. So I know that there's Cuban entries that have been selected. So it'll be interesting to see how they do that. Now, Cuban selectees in DV26 will not be allowed to proceed, right? But they shouldn't have been allowed to proceed anyway, and actually they're under the travel ban. So this hasn't caused any negative impact to Cuban selectees through my lawsuit. It simply, will tidy up that mess that the government have created in telling those people they're winners. Because if you think about it, telling those people they're winners, those people will then start going through preparing paperwork. Maybe they would proactively, tell all their neighbors they're winning and they're going to America, and they're not. They're not going to be able to do that. And so it's cruel and unfair to tell someone you're a winner when you're not a winner, as in the case of Cuba. And it's cruel and unfair to tell you to enter a lottery and that you've got some chance of selection and then not give you a chance of selection, which is what they did to UK people. So I'm absolutely very, very comfortable with what I did with this lawsuit. I spent a long time thinking about whether it was the right thing to do or not. I have been criticized by some in doing the lawsuit because they were worried I was going to destroy the chances for other countries. I never believed that was the case, but some people jumped to that conclusion. And so, but I knew it to be the right thing to do. So that's why I did it. And, as I say, I considered it very, very carefully. Thank you, Douglas. Good to see you. So Scott's saying, have selectees from the UK already been selected for 25 in the light of this area? Yes, is the answer. There is somebody apparently posting on the Reddit site. Let me see if I can find that. Actually, I'd love if someone could just put that link in. That would help me that would help me jump straight to that news. But let me just check the thread that I know of. Just having a quick look at the thread. So DV 2025 UK. 1 year ago, 4 years ago, 3 months ago. Yeah, if you guys can find me that Reddit post, I'd be very grateful. Put it in the chat for me if you could, and I'll show you that. But yes, as I understand it, there is a post on Reddit that says they've just found out they're a winner, and that they received an email to say go check the entrance status check. That's a significant point. Cubans out with knives and pitchforks for Simon. No, joke. Yeah, it actually saved a ton of money for Cuban selectees with the false optimism that they would get to enter the USA somehow. Exactly. That's how I see it. It's good to have that clarity. But yes, hopefully. I mean, I love Cuba and I love Cubans. I lived in Miami for a while. I would hate to upset my Cuban friends. Tiara says, you're the best. Hope we get my DV26. Yep. I hope Cubans have 1,000 selectees. So Burgess, yeah. So if there is a large number of selectees from Cuba, it's going to be very good news for the rest of South America, because South American case numbers will be able to probably go current. So even high case numbers, would be eligible in DV26, because those Cubans will all, be taken out. So, so anyway, we'll see. Yeah, Mr. Retro can't find it. LG Crash can't find the Reddit thing, but False Call maybe, but I don't think so. It makes the piece of it that makes perfect sense to me was that he had been emailed, And that's not something that I've discussed with anybody in public, I don't think. I may have put that on one of my videos, but the fact that people are being emailed to say, go check your ESC is not a surprise to me. And that was mentioned in the person that mentioned about the Reddit post mentions that. And so that's not a shock, not to me anyway. So let me just see who said that. So Reddit, where are you? Yeah, so Ryan, you're saying there is one, but somebody said that they got the email. Where is it? I'm scrolling up, but I must have scrolled past it somehow. Yeah, I can't see it, but maybe somebody is. Let me just check that I haven't got an email about that. I'm getting a lot of address not found. Double check. Awesome news. No, okay. So I'm sure that will come to light in the next few minutes, that Reddit link. But if anyone has that, do let me know. Oh, Scott, I posted the link. Can you not see the links posted? No, I can't see the link posted. Can anyone else? Maybe Scott, would you mind emailing that to me at britsimon3@gmail.com? Scott, britsimon3@gmail.com. If you could just email me that link. For whatever reason, it's not showing your link. Thank you, Scott. And I'll watch my email and I'll put that up straight away. But yes, like I think you must have been who said that earlier. But that makes perfect sense to me that they were emailed, as I say, and that was the important part of that. What I just read, saying that there was a Reddit link. So I believe that's there. So let me just I'll watch my email for the next few minutes and we'll see that. I would love it though if somebody that participated. I mean, it would be amazing. It would be unusual, but it would be amazing if any of the people that either filled out the spreadsheet, it's a survey. If they've about 140 people filled out the survey to say that they had entered DV25 or DV26 or both, and gave me some details and then gave me some encouragement and said whether they could participate in the lawsuit costs or not with the GoFundMe. And not everyone could, and I totally get that. I wasn't expecting that, but I got enough people from that initial survey that said yes, they would help defray the costs that I pulled the trigger on the survey. On the lawsuit, and committed to Curtis Morrison that I would pay for the costs, whatever the costs were. And then about 50 something people, I don't know what the GoFundMe is, but about 50 something people have helped with the entry side. With the cost side. I had how many people? Where is it? I want to see this. How many people have entered? Oh, come on. I want to see the number of people. Somehow I hate GoFundMe. I can't see the damn thing. Your fundraisers, that's what I want to see. View. Okay. So 54 people donated to the lawsuit and have raised $3,800, which is great. That leaves me about a bill of about $2,000. Which, frankly, I was always happy to pay some of the money. I didn't really want to pay the whole 6,000. So thank you to those 54 donations. That's really made a big difference. But it would be fantastic. I would absolutely love it if one of the people who had donated turned out to be a winner. That would be absolutely incredible. Right, Scott has given me the Scott has given me the link. Appreciate that, Scott. Let me put that up on the screen. And they mentioned the email. Okay. So there's two links that you're giving me there. That's awesome. Thank you. And I'm showing you my Reddit, but whatever. Okay, today, right, ching, 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 ching. There's also, hi everyone, DV application has changed to selective for DV25. We applied from the UK. It was the first year, oh, I'm not showing you this, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm showing you, good. It was the first year the UK was entered to the DV lottery. Does anyone know how many applicants they might be accepting from the UK? Okay, so we've got this is the one person that says, yeah, this is really good. We don't know if the thread is dead or not, but we just got an email saying our status was wrong, and to check the site, went to the site and it now says we are accepted after we had been initially a decline for 25. We're based in the UK. So I'm going to respond to that person and say, yep, there's a reason that you're, let me just make that bigger so that you can see that. Oh, not that side, this side. There's a reason that you were selected and you've got that good news. And I certainly hope that that person has time to go ahead and process their case. Yeah, that would be the amazing thing. So yeah, this is all happening in the last hour or so. So that's awesome news. Okay, so that's probably about it. I think let me just make this a little bit smaller so I can see this. And we'll just see if there's any last comments here. Let's see. No, happened. Happy to have donated to bring awareness. Yeah, awareness to the issue and allow a fair chance to us. Brits, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Ratchet. Appreciate your spirit there. I don't believe any of this is wasted money. This is the right thing to do, and I think for British people in particular, I'm not going to mention cricket or anything. All right, I just did mention cricket, but we know, golf, calling a stroke on yourself, and all that sort of stuff. It's what we Brits do, right? We do the right thing. Anyway, fingers crossed. Let's hope we get some. Do you think they'll update DV25? I think it means 26. That's what you're updating there. They will. The same fix will be done for DV26. Yes, 100%. This message only mentions DV25, but clearly it's going to apply for DV26 as well. So there you go. All right. What's the donation link? Actually, if somebody wants to donate and make even less of that cost available to me, or my problem, feel free. But I think anybody, I'll put that link in there. But anybody that wins, if the people that win are happy and that they get their green card from DV25 and they want to put some money in that GoFundMe to help with the cost, that would be, in my opinion, appropriate. But again, it's all about what you can afford to do, and what's the right thing to do, right? So that's all I'll say there. So will 26 people already be selected? I'd love to know. I'd love to know whether DV26 people are already selected. It wouldn't shock me that they've already flipped that switch for DV26, but they took some rapid action. I mean, rapid is a relative term, but they've still got a week to reply to our lawsuit, right? So this is action they're taking proactively. They didn't just wait to go into court and say, yes, we've screwed up and we've done nothing about it. Now, when they go into court, they're going to go into court and they're going to say, yes, we screwed up and we've already done this. We've taken this action. And so we feel like they'll probably ask to dismiss the lawsuit. I should imagine they'll ask to do that because it will be by that time moot because they've already given us the correction. I don't know how I feel about that, but I wouldn't want to waste more of Curtis's time. Curtis has got other very important lawsuits he's fighting, and so I'll have to discuss that with Curtis to see how that will go. But anyway, I don't want to make it too obvious what the strategy will be. That's really up to Curtis and myself to figure out. But anyway, we'll see. If the passport, yeah, I'll talk about that. Any changes for just arrived? Are there any changes for DV26 lottery applicants? Well, for UK DV26 applicants, yes, there will be a change. It's either already been changed or it's going to be changed, right? Again, I'd love to hear if anybody else got that email, because there is an email apparently that's going out to some people. Hopefully they go ahead with the UK winners. Might be too late for them circumstantially. Let me just cover this. Let me just explain from previous experience. There have been people who have received 2NLs, like scheduled appointments, as late as the 29th of September, and still got their visas issued, right? You'd be amazed what this government can do if it's in the mood to do it, right? So we're only August the 8th. There is plenty of time for them to have people like that winner on Reddit submit the DS260 and proceed with their win. They can specially process those DS260s. They can definitely do that. Because they can find the case by the case number and they can go process them. They can schedule interviews at the various embassies, probably the London embassy. There is capacity, but they can schedule those interviews, and then those people can be issued visas. Even if their interviews take place as late as September the 30th, they can still be issued visas, right? As long as they're approved on September 30th. They can have their visa printed a few days later. That's no problem at all. And then those people will have 6 months after their medical in which to enter the the USA. So they can enter as late as March of next year. And when they enter, they can enter to activate their green card status, and they can turn right back around and go back to the UK if they want, and go tidy up whatever they need to tidy up, sell the house, do whatever they need to do, right? So there's plenty of time, and the government, with their proactive action here, have given us an extra week, at least an extra week. So there is plenty of time. I'm not worried about the time. There's going to be time for them to process the DV25 winners, and I'm sure they'll do something heroic to do that. Like I say, in Mumbai, in 2022, I think it was. They kept the embassy open until midnight. They had a doctor ready to schedule, ready to do medicals for a number of cases. They sent out 2NLs on the 29th. On the day of the 30th, they had a doctor standing by ready to do the medicals. They had people, whipped through the process, and by midnight of that night, they had issued a number of cases. So they can do amazing things if they want to. It's just a matter of, do they want to? And funnily enough, when you sue them, apparently they want to. So, excellent news. Congratulations on taking the lawsuit forward. We're only 26 applicants, so fingers crossed. And even if it's not, I'm still happy we donated to the crowdfunded to get this sorted out. Thank you, Stuart. Appreciate that. I've had some, I consider every one of the donations very generous, because nobody who donated would have thought that they were, donating to get a green card kind of thing. That wasn't the deal. It was donating to a lawsuit which was going to give a chance for some people, God knows who, but some people have a chance, right? So that's a very community spirited thing to do, to spend your own hard-earned money on that. And I appreciate everybody who donated or supported by filling out the survey or has watched a video. You've all helped in some way to encourage me to do this. So I appreciate all of that. So that's about it. It's good news. Oh, Simone. Oh dear. Simone, any updates on Cuban selectees for DV26? Let me just address this. Simone, if you are a Cuban, charged to Cuba selectee for DV26, then you are ineligible for the win that they've told you that you've been given. And I'm sorry to break that news, right? But I know there are selectees for Cuba in DV26, and there shouldn't have been. There shouldn't have been any of them. That was a mistake to actually tell those people they were winners. And so those winners will be blocked. Those Cuban selectees will be blocked. I'm 99% sure. Because they screwed up. They shouldn't have been told they were winners in the first place. So I'm just hopeful that none of those people have spent money in any way, obtaining police certificates or doing anything like that in order to process their win. And so, Simone, by all means, contact me on my blog if you want to discuss that. Tell me I'm a scumbag or whatever, because I have revealed that evidence, the evidence that I had that there were Cuban winners. I have revealed that as part of the UK lawsuit, because I wanted to show that I could show very clearly how they've made this mistake. That's why I've revealed that information. I didn't personalize it with the government. I had the full information of at least one particular winner. But I used that in order to show how the mistake had been made that affected the UK. Now, Cuban selectees are also blocked by the travel ban. So, DV25 and 26 Cuban selectees have both got a problem, but DV26 shouldn't have been eligible in the first place. And so that's why I was comfortable in using the evidence that I had. I didn't consider it to be anything wrong to do that. Okay. All right. Okay. My shirt. Yeah, I did explain right at the beginning. This is my cycling jersey, so I apologize for the unshaven and messy look. So yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining this morning. I hope you have enjoyed the lawsuit updates. I'll probably give 1 or 2 more lawsuit updates. Obviously, I'm going to revel in this news, so you'll have to forgive me that. All right, everybody. Please do like my channel if you can. Subscribe to the channel if you're interested. If you're a UK winner, please let me know either here or on my blog at britsimonsays.com. I'd be very grateful. All right. Thanks then. Bye-bye.